Hey there, Patriots. This is Praying Medic. I am back, finally, with another QAnon update. It is Wednesday, July 10th. This is my Q thread that began on July 8th when Q returned to the board after a long absence. All right, those of you who are following along at home and doing your own research, and I do recommend doing your own research, you can find Q posts on a number of different websites, including qmap.pub and qanon.pub. If you have an Android phone and you would like to get the apps, there's the Q Map app. There's also the Q Alerts app. There's a light version and a full version. And the theme for this broadcast is, what happens when? It is a question Q has asked a couple of times in this series. If you have an iPhone, there is a way to get Q alerts on your iPhone. If you go to the Apple Store and install the Get Pushed app that provides push notifications of various kinds, you can install that app. That's the first step. Second step is, once you've downloaded the app, open it, click the plus sign at the top right, and scan this QR code. It's on this page, QAnonUpdates.com/QAnon apps. You can. That's one way to get the push updates. The other way is simply to open the app, and in the search, there's a search window there. Just search for QAnon updates. Select that, and you should get notifications whenever Q posts. All right. Having dispensed with that, let's get to the Q drops, because there is a lot to cover. All right. Q asked this question: what happens when those who held positions of power and influence no longer pull the strings? What happens when blackmail no longer works? Do you become a liability? We have the capital letter H in parentheses. We have an arrow pointing to letter C, letter D, letter I, and then of course Q signs at Q. Just bear in mind, all of this is in the context of the recent arrest of Jeffrey Epstein last Saturday, and a lot of this has to do with that. Blackmail is one thing we'll be talking about here in this update. So, talking about who controls who is in positions of power and influence, who do they serve? I'm going to go back to November 3rd, this post by Q, when Q was posting on 4chan. That's why it's a different color. So Q dropped this post, was talking about Jared Kushner, JK. Why did JK travel to SA, Saudi Arabia, recently? This was actually an undisclosed trip that Kushner made a week or two before the corruption crackdown in Saudi Arabia. Q asked, what is Saudi Arabia known for? Where do the biggest donations originate from? This is donations to politicians. Why is this relevant? What else is relevant with Saudi Arabia? Safe harbor, port of transfer. Why was there a recent smear campaign against Kushner and POTUS? Why is it timing? Let's see. Yeah, why is the timing important? Who released the article? All right. So that is a backdrop. Foundations of U.S. politicians, prior to 2017 at least, received a lot of money from Saudi Arabia. The McCain Institute received a $1 million grant, gift donation from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And actually, the Clinton Foundation received between $10 million and $25 million from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We don't know exactly, because their record keeping gives you a range for those donations. The day after this post about why did Jared Kushner travel to Saudi Arabia, this is November 3rd, on November 4th, there was the crackdown of corruption in Saudi Arabia. Mohammed bin Salman, with the help of Blackwater contractors, arrested corrupt members of the Saudi royal family and many corrupt Saudi businessmen. The arrest of members of the Saudi royal family and businessmen, and the freezing of their assets by bin Salman, brought an end to the financial benefits that U.S. politicians receive from Saudi Arabia. Many U.S. and U.K. politicians were essentially puppets of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That is not the case anymore. The election of Donald Trump and his decision to clean out the FBI and DOJ of corrupt people meant the end of protection against prosecution that corrupt politicians have enjoyed for decades. So an Anon asked Q what this meant for Hillary. This is November 5th, the day after the arrest. Is Hillary, HRC, just a puppet and the goal is to take down her minders and the real kingpins? Q wrote, correction, Hillary was a puppet, but her strings were recently cut. She is now on her own and fighting for her life. Q. So Q has been painting this picture for us that politicians are or were puppets of the wealthy, powerful people around in other countries who have a lot of money. Now, Donald Trump's campaign to rid the world of corruption involves the disempowering of people with money who are paying the politicians and giving them support. So, V for Vendetta, remember the 5th of November. Well, the 4th of November was actually a very important day in history. It'll go down as a very important day. It's easy to be fooled by their smug, self-assured smiles when they go to their meetings and they go on camera and they're on there doing their interviews. And the elites right now, people say, you know, these people don't look worried, they don't look scared. They look as if they haven't a worry in the world. But make no mistake, they all knew exactly what it meant for them when Donald Trump won the election. Hillary and all the other people who enjoyed freedom from prosecution and enjoyed political power, when Trump got elected, they all knew it was the end of the road. Politicians are useful to the powerful and wealthy. Bribes are used to control them. Also, blackmail and donations control them. Q asks what happens when those who held positions of power and influence no longer pull the strings. What happens when blackmail no longer works? Do you become a liability? All right. The arrest of Jeffrey Epstein is going to have a profound effect on politicians and those who control the politicians that a lot of people probably haven't considered. Jeffrey Epstein, his island is alleged to have been used for blackmail purposes. You get politicians to fly down there. You get them involved in very compromising, illegal situations with underage women, with girls, basically. They have sex with them. They video tape the sessions. Everything there is under surveillance. They get video. The politicians don't really know what's going on until it's too late. Once they've got blackmail video on them, they can be controlled. And that is some operations at places, they call it a brownstone operation. It's been used for hundreds of years to control people and to get them to do what you want. Now, with Jeffrey Epstein's arrest and the likelihood that that evidence is going to be made public, those politicians are no longer assets, but they become liabilities. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of panic from politicians in D.C. Because the people who were once assets are now liabilities. And the whole game has changed with Epstein's arrest. All right, we'll get into that a little bit more later. All right, Q closed the first post with the sequence of letters, H in parentheses, you could call it a greater than sign, but it's really an arrow that points to the C. Then there's a D and an I. All right. What do these letters mean? Well, we know from this post on April 27th that the letter H in parentheses has been used to signify Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General of the DOJ. Q asks, what are the powers of Huber / IGH, Inspector General Horowitz? All right, so H in parentheses in this case is going to refer to Mike Horowitz. We also know from this post that C in parentheses refers to James Comey, and specifically a report that Joe DeGenevis said is coming out about Comey. So we're going with C for the Comey report. All right, and this was on Fox News when DeGenevis dropped the bombshell that their DOJ had a report just on James Comey that was going to be coming out. So Anon posted this meme, "The storm has arrived," and Q responded with this: just because the public is unaware of something does not mean nothing is happening. Is the Mueller hearing a tactic meant to delay the H report? So Robert Mueller is going to be testifying. Robert Mueller is going to be testifying on the 17th of July. He'll be testifying before Congress. Q asks, is his hearing a tactic meant to delay the Horowitz report? There's already been a lot of delays at the Horowitz report. We are now hearing that a person came forward at the 11th hour who wanted to get his testimony on the record, and Catherine Herridge from Fox News is saying that person was actually Christopher Steele. And apparently 3 DOJ employees flew to Europe and spent 2 days interviewing Christopher Steele and getting his statements on the record to be included in the Horowitz report. That has delayed the release of his report. So the Inspector General report has been delayed for a number of reasons, and that's just how these things work with government agencies. I am not expecting that we're going to see this until August. But Q is asking if the Mueller hearing is a tactic meant to delay it further, because there's going to be bad news in the Horowitz report, and I think they're trying to stall this as long as they can. The Horowitz report, next line down, release, is it necessary prior to the Comey report being released? Q is asking a question, so I'm assuming the answer is yes. The Horowitz report plus the Comey report equals D. D equals the start of the mass awakening. WH, White House, ABCs, that's FBI, DOJ, CIA, 3-letter agencies. State Department, foreign governments, heads of state, foreign intel agencies, all of whom were involved in Spygate. Post D come many I's. I suspect at this point D might mean D class, although I wouldn't necessarily put Horowitz report and Comey report equals D class, although maybe that's another way of looking at it. So Q is saying that after D, we could just say that's D class, comes many I's. I believe I's is indictments. When blackmail no longer holds due to loss of senior level key government positions and 11th hour testimony, those previously protected become prey. Hunters become the hunted. God wins. Q. So the arrest of Epstein and the exposure of the crimes of politicians, making them assets or liabilities instead of assets, exposing their crimes, is going to disempower the deep state. And those who were once protected are now going to become prey. And I think we're going to see a lot of arrests here in the very near future. I talked in my last video a little bit about this opinion from a former assistant deputy director of the FBI. I think is Chris Sweckert, I think his name is. He said that he believes the 2-count indictment against Epstein is essentially acting as a placeholder. He believes there will be a superseding indictment with more counts coming in the future, and that they just wanted to get Epstein off the street, so they did the 2-count indictment to take him into court and have an arraignment. All right. So let's move on. Q asked if Mueller's testimony to Congress is a tactic by the president's enemies to delay the release of the report. Barr has said that the DOJ would back Mueller if he decides not to testify. Apparently that's a possibility that's in play, that Mueller may decide not to testify. I wouldn't bet on that. I think he probably will testify. And I think it probably is a delay tactic. All right. Let's see. Working through things here. Right. So I believe the I is indictments. I think we are going to see a lot of indictments coming. Well, if you look on the PACER website, there are over 100,000 sealed cases on the PACER website. Not all of them are indictments, but that is the latest count. All right. The 11th hour testimony. So there was a lot of reporting on this key witness who came forward and wanted to get his testimony on the record. We found out that was actually Christopher Steele, sounds like. All right, so an Anon said, welcome back, Q. So good to see you. Are you returning publicly again now? And Q said, the time has come to re-enter the public domain, Q. And he came back with a splash. I have been frantically putting together this thread for the last 2 days. A lot of posts. All right. So I posted this the night of the 8th. I was getting really tired and I had a lot of screen caps to do and some research before I could continue the thread. So I posted this, which Q had on the board. President Trump, my turn. Sweet dreams, Q, but we're going to continue this. That's where I left off the night of the 8th. All right. Q reposted pictures related to Jeffrey Epstein, including a photo of the temple on Little St. James Island and a photo of Bill Clinton with Rachel Chandler. Ray Chandler is a very key player in this whole thing. And it is interesting to me that this picture with Bill Clinton and Ray Chandler has the file name Chatter Health BC. Back in February, Q said Chatter, Bill and Hillary's public health will begin to rapidly deteriorate, Q. Evidently, when people are possibly about to have their corruption exposed, they may choose to go out on their own time frame and their own way, rather than face a humiliating public trial. So it's just something to think about. For those of you who are interested in Ray Chandler, I posted a video on YouTube about my Ray Chandler back in March. YouTube actually took that video down, and there were complaints, privacy complaints about it, because there are people who don't want this information to come out. So that video is not available on YouTube. It is, however, available on my website. If you go to my website, prayingmedic.com, if you just put in the search Ray Chandler, you'll come up with that video. I have it privately hosted, so it can't be taken down. And I also have a thread on Ray Chandler. I'm not going to get in too much into the weeds on Ray Chandler in this video. There's a lot of other things we have to cover. But just to let you know, back in March, this is March 20th, Q said Ray Chandler is Allison Mack times 100. Allison Mack, her testimony is what led to the prosecution of elites involved in the Nexium sex cult. Well, Ray Chandler, if she testifies, and I believe that she has already probably given DOJ her testimony, Ray Chandler will bring down many powerful people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. All right, Q posted this. On the left is a screenshot of an old post from March 20th. It's Bill Clinton and his pals down here in the water, and Q asks, will the rich and powerful influence the court to prevent the unsealing? Follow the attorney who took the pic, who was located behind the camera. Sex trafficking is real. We know that the rich and powerful did not influence the court to prevent the unsealing. The court did unseal some of those documents. That was on July 2nd, and Epstein was arrested on July 6th. All right. On the right, we have a part of a Twitter thread from Arrest Podesta. And it has to do with a typo that Q made in this post. Why is Epstein spending $29 million to bury the tunnels underneath Epstein Island? Problem, phones were allowed in. These people are stupid, Q. Q accidentally left out the letter H in the word his and then corrected it with a capital letter H. Now, I'll show you here's the correction. The original post, underneath is temple, should have been his. Put in a capital letter H. Now, Arrest Podesta said, well, it looks like the capital letter H is actually implying that Hillary is involved in this. And I think that is a good assumption because Hillary Clinton often went by the capital letter H in her emails. That's how you have her email address here, and then her name is just the letter H. So I think that probably was a reference to Hillary. All right, let's see. We have this drop here. Follow the attorney, Q said. Nick Lewin is the attorney who filed a brief on behalf of two anonymous parties asking that court to keep those documents sealed in the Epstein case. And we believe, and Q did post after this post here, Nicholas Lewin was a person of interest to us. So just keep that name in the back of your mind. We'll probably be hearing more about Nick Lewin in the future. This is an article from the Miami Herald, up to 2,000 pages of documents in this Epstein case are going to be made public. They have not yet been made public, but they will be once the judge looks at motions to keep certain information redacted. All right, moving along here. Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz was one of the litigants who succeeded in getting that court to unseal those documents. A lot of people are concerned that Dershowitz might be involved in this. There are certainly a lot of allegations against Dershowitz. He states that he is innocent, that people who accused him of any kind of illicit activity, he says that they're lying. And he wanted to get these court documents unsealed so that he could prove that these accusations are false. So I'm not going to worry too much about Dershowitz. If he was involved, it'll probably be revealed. If he's innocent, it'll be revealed. Not too worried on that. Okay, Q posted this Flynn news coming. This is on the 8th. The next morning, Sarah Carter published an article. General Flynn's new attorney, Sidney Powell, said in a new filing that the government could not designate General Flynn a co-conspirator in his former business partner's case because prosecutors had previously stated in court that Flynn was not a co-conspirator. Initially, Flynn was being treated as a witness, and then the DOJ tried to treat him as a co-conspirator. And so Sidney Powell is basically arguing that he has to remain a witness. They can't consider him a co-conspirator because they admitted that he was not a co-conspirator. And the only reason they're doing that is to get one document admitted into evidence that could be admitted in another way. It looks like they're just trying to pressure him, the people on Mueller's team. So that's one Flynn news story. Courageous Chrissy got a shout out from Q on the Jeffrey Epstein arrest. 6 hours ago on PBS NewsHour, a district attorney for Southern District of New York, Mr. Berman, said about the Epstein arrest, "What I will say is we were assisted with some excellent investigative journalists." And then we have the hashtag We Are the News Now. So Q posted that link and said, "You didn't think all this research tasking was for nothing, did you?" Yeah. Well, it is nice to get recognition every once in a while. All right. And Anon posted a Q nightlight outside their apartment with a flag like that. Q responded, "Where we go one, we go all." Okay, Q posted this, and it has to do with last year's Inspector General report. The Inspector General report on Hillary Clinton email investigation by the FBI left a lot of people kind of bitter and disgruntled. They weren't really happy with it. They have not seen people being held accountable. However, they do forget that one of the things found mentioned in the Inspector General report is information that was found on Anthony Weiner's laptop, including Hillary Clinton and Foundation crime against children. And Q says, worth remembering, because the Inspector General report, the next one is coming out, but I think we're going to see some action on Hillary Clinton and Foundation. That's what John Huber has been investigating, as far as I understand. All right. And I think that the information on Anthony Weiner's laptop is going to be put to use. I have no doubt that people are going to be charged with crimes, and that evidence is going to be used against them. I'm pretty confident of that. All right. Q wrote, many people were disappointed with Horowitz report, when it was released last year. Just because the public isn't aware of something doesn't mean nothing's happening. D5, Q. So I think Q is, again, giving us a good hint that this information, Anthony Weiner's laptop, Hillary Clinton Foundation, crime against children, the pedophile issue, the human trafficking, it's all going to be coming out very soon. That is why Q is returning to the board. Those who are disillusioned by the DOJ Inspector General report from last year tend to overlook all those career deep state employees who have been removed by Jeff Sessions and Chris Wray, including James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Jim Rubicki, who was the chief of staff, James Baker, all fired, Bree Stapp, gone, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, gone, Mike Cortan, gone, Josh Campbell, Steinbach, James Turgall, Greg Bauer, Trish Anderson, Randy Coleman, all gone. Randall Coleman was actually the executive assistant director of counterintelligence. He was the one who was involved in this meeting with Comey about Weiner's laptop. Well, they're all gone. D5, the avalanche is coming. The snowball is rolling, and there's nothing going to stop it. All right. Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys once claimed that Epstein was part of the original group that conceived of the Clinton Global Initiative. This was his attorneys I think it was in a 23-page filing with the court during his previous trial. They presented to the court that Epstein was part of the group that conceived of Clinton Global Initiative. All right, so Q posted a link to that article and said, connect the dots, Q. Yeah, the Clintons are heavily connected to Jeffrey Epstein. So those of you who are waiting for justice to come, it's coming. Bill Clinton issued a public statement denying any knowledge of or involvement in Jeffrey Epstein's sexual improprieties. Q posted a link to that article. Does this single picture of Bill Clinton, BC, on Epstein's plane with RC, Ray Chandler, refute his entire statement? Fake news disinformation campaign is failing. You are the news now. Together you are strong. Q. All right. Sachs Clark got cued laying down some facts about Trump and Epstein. A lot of mainstream media has been trying to connect Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. Well, here are the facts. We know you wish to connect Trump to Epstein, but you will discover that Trump is not in the flight log to Epstein's Little St. James Lily Island, not even once. Trump hitched a ride from Daytona Beach to New York City with Epstein's son one time. Upon learning that Epstein had assaulted a 14-year-old daughter of an employee at Mar-a-Lago, Trump kicked Epstein out of the golf club and banned him for life. At Epstein's first arrest, Trump voluntarily went to the police to give a statement, and the police commented that Trump could not have been more forthcoming. Those of you who are concerned There is nothing to be concerned about. Trump is not at all involved in any of Epstein's criminal activity. He has nothing to worry about. All right, so Q posted a link to that tweet and wrote, "The job of the media, 90% of which is owned by 6 corporations, is not to inform the public of truth using facts, but to con the public using falsehoods and opinion to paint a narrative that is designed to keep the sheep in line in order to maintain control and regain power. People awake and united ends their control. Brainwashing." Q. And Anon responded, "You guys dropping real videos along with indictments helps a lot with overcoming that." I think somebody wants to see some of those videos from Wiener's laptop. Q wrote, Jeff Sessions, began the Epstein investigation. When that is revealed, those who doubted may see the light. The wheels of justice turn slow, but when they turn, they are powerful. 10 times the speed now underway. So things are picking up. And I think we're going to see indictments and a lot more activity in the coming months. Q said we are back online. Pelosi attempted to block. Q. Evidently, Pelosi attempted to take down the board on 8chan again. So, oh well, when you're over the target, right? Anon posted this. It is by J.R. Dunn. Back in 2011, Peter Schweitzer published "Throw Them All Out, a detailed examination of political corruption." It is actually practiced in the halls of Congress. In his investigation, Schweitzer found one member of Congress against whom no allegations could be held, who had never taken a dime that was not his and had never cut any backroom deals, had never simply played the game. That individual was Jeff Sessions. I absolutely believe that Sessions is a straight shooter. I think that Trump throwing shade on Sessions was all part of an operation necessary to fake out the deep state. I think Sessions will be vindicated. So Q then wrote, "Sometimes you need to take one for the team publicly before you are vindicated as a hero." Q. So I believe Sessions will be vindicated in history. And Anon posted the Punisher skull. Yay! Haven't seen that in a while. All right. Q previously suggested that the tarmac meeting between Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch was recorded and stored by the NSA under the supervision of Admiral Mike Rogers. All right, this is an old drop from November 1st. What was negotiated on the tarmac between BC, Bill Clinton, and Loretta Lynch? Remember, it was expected Hillary was going to win during this time period. What if the Wizards and Warlocks, NSA, tipped off a local reporter as to the supposed unscheduled stop? What if NSA, under the personal direction of Admiral Rogers, had this meeting miscategorized and logged under a false identity to prevent bad actors from locating that file, while also verifying to said players all was clear, no logs? What really happened when the Wizards and Warlocks revealed what they had was Comey forced into the spotlight shortly thereafter, not by choice, right before the election, no doubt, which would cast suspicion. All right, so I hope Q is not playing with us, but it sounds, and Q has always suggested that there is a tarmac tape. Sometimes TT refers to tarmac tape. Sometimes TT refers to Trump Tower. Just look at the context and you'll be able to figure out which one it is. All right, so Q posted in response to this Anon's Punisher skull. What happens when Loretta Lynch can no longer provide legal cover for the Clintons? Tarmac meetings _end Q. I am praying we get that tarmac tape. Oh my gosh. People are going to lose it. If there is a tarmac tape and that thing gets made public, people are going to lose it. All right. And Anon posted this. It's a big old Q banner on a wall. Where we go one and we go all. And Q reposted it. All right. Q reposted some of the movie banners. FISA-gate, Panic in D.C., and Guardians of the Pedophiles. Coming attractions coming soon. All right. Q posted this Les Wexner founder of Victoria's Secret. Connect the dots. Q. All right, so, gosh, I did a lot of digging because I didn't really know much about Les Wexner, but apparently he assisted Jeffrey Epstein in getting started as a hedge fund manager. Epstein, as a hedge fund manager, has really only specialized in managing the assets of billionaires. Les Wexner is the only person that is publicly declared as a client of Epstein. Epstein has other clients, but none of them are public. And Epstein has most of his businesses being run out of the Virgin Islands. So it's a little difficult to get records. But one thing that I did find is that Epstein was assumed ownership of a New York mansion valued at over $70 million. And apparently the price of that transfer was $0. It looks like it was just given to Epstein by Wexner. A lot of articles on Wexner and Epstein talking about their history, how close they were, very, very close. Some people say that it's like they shared a brain. And some people say that Wexner made Epstein who he is. Epstein, of course, gets pretty angry when he hears people say that. This is a recent article from Bloomberg suggesting that Wexner needs to put even more distance between himself and Epstein in light of Epstein's arrest. And apparently their relationship has cooled over the last 10 years, but there's a lot of information you can find if you're interested. All right. Somebody posted this, and Q reposted it. It's a screenshot. Kit Laybourne worked for MTV, Nickelodeon, Children's Television Workshop, PBS, and Nick Jr. Geraldine Laybourne created Nickelodeon. In 1996, she became the president of Disney ABC. Both of them are on the board of KinderCare, and both of them show up on the Epstein flight logs. I haven't looked into that to see if they actually went to Little St. James or they went somewhere else. But Q said, how deep is a rabbit hole? Mad Hatter, Q. Rabbit hole is deep. Very, very deep. All right, these are just Wikipedia pages for Laybournes. Q posted this. It's an old drop. Let's see. Gloria Vanderbilt and one of her kids. I don't know if that's Anderson Cooper or his brother. But Q says, do you find it interesting that everything discussed in the past is somehow making news as of late? Q. It is interesting. This is Gloria Vanderbilt and her two sons, Anderson Cooper and Carter, who committed suicide years later. And, of course, Gloria Vanderbilt recently died, and Anderson Cooper inherited only $1.5 million from her estate. All right, so Q posted this. Got a couple of links in here to articles. One example, Joe Biden, Vice President of the United States, followed the family. Corruption in D.C., how to get rich. Are liberals willfully blind, or... There's an article there to the $1.5 billion contract to build Iraqi homes that was awarded to James Biden, who is Joe Biden's younger brother. There's another link to an article about the troubling reason why Biden is so soft on China. And of course, that talks about Hunter Biden's $1.5 billion deal with a Chinese bank. Q says, coincidence? Drain the swamp. Q. And so a couple of articles, yeah. The housing contract in Iraq was worth $1.5 billion to James Biden, who is Joe Biden's younger brother. And then, of course, the Hunter Biden scandal, which is getting more traction every day. All right. Q reposted an old drop from January of, last year. U.S. taxpayers are paying for it all. The Paris Accord is a scam, trillions. Red Cross, scam, billions. Foreign aid, scam, trillions. War is a scam, going to cost trillions, on and on. Who audits where the money goes? Who actually receives the money? A lot of it gets kicked back to politicians. So Q writes the new post on the right-hand side. Imagine what would happen if, by law, every U.S. congresswoman or congressman, every U.S. senator, president, etc., was, by U.S. law, audited every 1 to 2 years by an independent agency. Imagine what would happen if those audits extended to all family members of such elected officials. Would D's continue to push for foreign aid to other countries versus the homeland? What happens when the kickbacks dry up? Maxine Waters, $4 million house. Nancy Pelosi, net worth $150 million. Joe Biden's son and brother, net worth tens of millions. Clinton family is estimated to be worth over $200 million. But pre-election of Bill Clinton, their net worth was less than $1 million. The Obama family has an estimated net worth of $40 million. Prior to the election, his estimated net worth was less than $1 million. Is the money disguised under book deals? Those who are offered more power, those who take the money are offered more powerful positions within the party. Controlled. Drain the swamp. Q. All right, so Q linked to an article here in this post at the top, which is a tweet by Sarah Carter, and that points to an article about the $4.4 million in aid that was given to Equatorial Guinea by Barack Obama and his administration. And it looks like that money helped pay for a stable of supercars that are owned by the president's son. Swiss police are auctioning off 25 supercars valued at $13 million, which the president's son bought. So this was seized in a corruption crackdown. A lot of these countries we're giving money to are just corrupt as all get out, and we shouldn't be giving them our money. Okay, this post from February is interesting. I think it's related to what Q is talking about. The president said, and there's a quote here, "This can never be allowed to happen again in our country or to another president. How do you deter and prevent this from happening again?" And this is in reference to Spygate and some other things that involve corruption. Simply by terminating employment of those responsible, is that going to solve the problem? Simply by conducting a few non-threatening investigations, or by prosecuting those responsible to the fullest extent of the law, setting up new checks and balances and oversight designed to increase transparency. Provide OIG offices with funding, increase size, and increase their authority. Provide select committees with access in-house viewing of non-national security classified material. Provide a check on directors and department directors and assistant directors of all intel agencies and ABC agencies, so FBI, DOJ, CIA, etc. Establish financial checks reviews of those in senior critical positions, audits, and direct family members, close proximity. Transparency in prosecution is the only way forward to save our republic and safeguard such criminal and treasonous acts from ever occurring again. While some want to quietly remove these responsible people and go about our business, save face on the world stage, those in control understand this Band-Aid will simply not work. Nobody should be above the law, no matter how massive the spiderweb is entangled. This will never happen again. Truth works, facts matter. Q. So, for those of you who are concerned that nothing's going to change and this is going to go on and these people may get a slap on the wrist, it ain't going to happen. I believe that Trump's long-term goal is to put in place checks and balances, a system that holds people accountable where this type of corruption will not be allowed to happen again. It is going to take time. It is going to take a lot of time to do that, but we just have to wait and pray and support the president. All right, Joe Biden's tax returns were released. He and his wife made more than $15 million in the 2 years after they left the White House. Q posted a link to that news release. $15 million plus more personally declared. What an amazing coincidence. Think yesterday's drop. Disguised under book deals. Q. All right. Ed Buck, a Democratic donor and a very controversial person, is facing new legal troubles as the mother of a man who died in his home has filed an amended civil suit accusing him of human trafficking and engaging in revenge porn. Q posted a link to that article. The hunters become the hunted. Q. All right. Last year, Q predicted that some people will run for president as a way to avoid prosecution. Sexual misconduct is the public shelter to accept resignation. This is when a lot of people were resigning from Congress, sexual allegations. Al Franken is an example. There were other people. So Q said, watch those who are announcing 2020 president running. You cannot attack a political opponent. None are protected. None are safe. Q. So it's been my impression that we have more than 20 Democratic candidates for president because a lot of them are afraid they're going to be indicted. And their only way of defending themselves against these criminal indictments that are coming would be to say, hey, I'm running for president. This is a political attack. Trump's attacking me. So Tom Steyer, the Trump-hating billionaire and guy who has funded a lot of Democratic candidates, announced he is not running for president. Q responded, Tom Steyer is not sleeping well these days. Attack a political opponent will not work. Justice is no longer blind to those with billions. Q. Oh, we're going to have so many arrests coming. It's just crazy. I'm having a hard time keeping up with the news cycle, to be honest, and the Q drops. All right, so Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers submitted a plea deal to the Southern District of New York. They have offered Epstein to cooperate with investigators, give up the names of individuals who had sex with underage girls in exchange for a maximum sentence not to exceed 5 years. This came out yesterday. All right. But it may be too late for Epstein to make a deal. And I say that because of this post by Q. All right. So Q writes regarding Bill Clinton, BC, and RC, Ray Chandler, on the Epstein plane, the picture. Did the FBI DOJ interview Ray Chandler? When did public awareness grow across social media? Class 1 through 99. All right. I read that and I was like, aha, I know what they did. So apparently, FBI and Department of Justice has already interviewed Ray Chandler, probably already has her testimony. And knowing that Ray Chandler can finger all of these people that are connected to Epstein Island, I suspect that they had Q go out and start posting about Ray Chandler to get people like us aware and interested on social media, get some social media traction, get a critical mass of people informed on the issue prior to the prosecution, because they knew the prosecution was coming. And I think this is all part of I'm seeing a very well-coordinated, planned-out operation. So if Ray Chandler has already given her deposition to the DOJ and the FBI, then they don't need any information from Epstein. And then they may just turn down Epstein's offer and say, we don't need your testimony. We've already got all the testimony we need. Epstein would then be at the top of the pyramid. Usually in an investigation like this, they'll take people at the bottom, interrogate them, get depositions, get their information, and they work their way up. And the people at the bottom give out information about the people on top. When you're at the top, there's no way you're going to get a deal because everybody else below you has already saying about what you did. So continuing, what age is Ray Chandler in the picture? Under the age of 18. In brackets we have 15. So Q was just telling us she was 15 years old. Who posted the picture? Ray Chandler? Yes, she did. Who posted internal security camera pics of the temple on Instagram? That was also Ray Chandler. We'll look at those in a minute. Did these people believe they were untouchable? Did they have an untouchable mindset by all involved? Blackmail, power, top-down protection. The plane, Epstein's plane, plus the temple, plus XYZ pics equals witness. Witness plus class 1 through 99. Why did Ray Chandler start and form a modeling talent agency? This is that she could recruit certain types of people, typically young, good-looking women. Why was Ray Chandler and Epstein and the M in brackets temple highlighted in the past. Dark to light, these people are sick, Q. All right. And for those of you who are wondering, the M, I think that might be the Moloch temple, the M temple, but I'm not sure. All right. Ray Chandler, yeah, like I said, has probably been interviewed by FBI and DOJ. If she has probably already given them all the information they need. Leave it to Trump and the military to be 10 steps ahead. All right. They posted the pictures because they thought they were invincible. They thought they were above the law. They were untouchable. They did not think Hillary would lose. And now they all lose. All right. Q posted this. Bill Maher, who has previously joked about Epstein, joked about pedophile, lots of pedophile jokes, and has made fun of Q. So Q writes, no joke and no reference regarding Epstein since his arrest. No attempt to connect him back to POTUS. Silence. That's because he's being hunted. Q. All right. This is another post from Q when he was mocking Q with a little get up there in the Q computer. Q says, not so funny now. All right. Then Q posted this. This is in relation to the belief among a lot of people that JFK Jr. was going to show up on the 4th of July. I had never endorsed that position, and Q has never endorsed that position. Q has repeatedly stated that JFK Jr. is dead. The idea that JFK Jr. was still alive was started by some anon during a break when Q had not posted for 20 days. An anon got on 8chan and began getting everybody all stirred up about JFK Jr. coming back, and that started this big snowball rolling. Q has repeatedly said JFK Jr. is dead. However, the mainstream media has taken a lot of people's interest in JFK Jr., spun it into a story that Q has predicted that JFK Jr. is going to come back. And of course, Q never said that. Q has always had the position that JFK Jr. is dead. But Q said when the fake news can't attack you directly using facts, well, they can accuse you of making a prediction that you didn't make. All right. We have this from Q. You didn't think the Epstein investigation began a few months ago, did you? It was all under the direction and oversight of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Expect a lot more to become public. Unsealing, Q. Unsealing documents and unsealing indictments. We're getting to the interesting part of the mission. It has been reported that William Barr recused himself from the Epstein matters because he once worked for a law firm years ago that represented Epstein. Well, Q said Barr is not recused from pending cases. He is only recused from past cases. D, Dems fight coming. Liberal outrage coming. Pelosi's daughter inserted. Counter made. Simple. Q. All right. So if you think that Trump haters have been having a little outrage about Barr since he got installed as Attorney General, it's going to get worse because he is not going to recuse himself from the current Epstein case, looks like. Pelosi's daughter inserted. This is Christine Pelosi. She posted this on Twitter. This Epstein case is horrific, and the young women deserve justice. It is quite likely that some of our faves are implicated, but we must follow the facts and let the chips fall where they may, whether Republican or Democrat. And then she's got the Me Too hashtag. We said enough. So apparently, Christine Pelosi, according up here, was inserted, counter-made. I think she's been inserted as a buffer to help Dems accept the repercussions of Epstein's arrest and realize this is a nonpartisan issue. All right, Q posted a link to an executive order from December 21st, 2017, allowing the Treasury Department to seize the assets of individuals found to be engaged in severe human rights abuse, human trafficking, or corruption. All right. Q writes, worth remembering, planned 1 + 1 = 2. Q. 1 + 1 = 2 is just a true logical expression. So logically, the president must have planned to use this executive order on corrupt people and people engaged in human rights abuse and human trafficking. Okay, moving along. The president has been trying to put people on the Federal Reserve Board who support a return to the gold standard. Judy Shelton is one such person that has been chosen by Trump to be named on the board. So Q then posted a link to that article. And we have a screenshot of a prior post, which was a question and answer session. When an anon asked, do we have the gold? Q said, yes, gold shall destroy the Fed. Q. So Q is reminding us, once again, the long-term goal is to, I don't know if we're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve, but definitely go back to the gold standard. We were on the gold standard here in the United States for many years while we had the Federal Reserve, and I have no idea how that's going to look, but that is the long-term goal. All right. Q posted a link to a video a bunch of us have watched before. It is this video will get Donald Trump elected. And I'm not going to post it in this video because copyrights. However, if you have not seen that video, you should definitely watch it. It describes the president's plan to eradicate corruption, not just in America, but on a global scale. Q writes, listen very carefully again. Note the past 2 years, what has been done, and note the next 6 years. You were told what was going to happen. You were told what battles we face. Strategic, pre-planned, patriots in control. Q. All right, so go listen to that video again and get yourself inspired about what is going to come. Q posted this. I'm guessing this is surveillance of SC Sarah Carter and JS John Solomon has been terminated. Sleep well, Q. I was not aware that John Solomon and Sarah Carter were under surveillance, but apparently they were. So Nanan said, how the heck were they allowed to do this long? Holy smokes, FBI, CIA? Q responded, it was disguised under the leaker target program, that's with the DOJ, has been cracking down on leakers. So apparently somebody slipped in surveillance on John Solomon and Sarah Carter, but that has been ended. Found that very interesting. All right. Anons were kind of shocked to hear about that news, as was I. This Anon wondered if this mention of the placeholder. A Fox former FBI official said the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein is likely a placeholder. Expect dozens of more charges on Epstein in the future. And the Anon's like, hey, we got a placeholder thing. And Q said, a very interesting thing. This is the article about Chris Swecker, who said he believed the two-count indictment on Epstein will serve as a placeholder and that there will be a superseding indictment with additional counts coming in the future. All right. Q responded to that saying, placeholder population will start August of 2019. Q. I am excited. So what that means is, and that's not surprising, right? So we have these, a bunch of placeholder posts. These are all on Patriots Fight. And some of them involve declassification of Spygate docs. This one involves a special counsel. And this long string of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 8 placeholders related to the Inspector General report. All right. And we're going to be seeing the Inspector General report probably in August, and we may see declass in August. So when Q said placeholder population starts August of 2019, that's the time frame I would expect for all this to start rolling. And when these issues, when the report comes out, Q then, I believe, will be giving us information on all these specific areas and all these placeholders. And as documents are declassified, he'll be building out information on those placeholders. Okay. Q plus, back on the board. We are with you. Q plus. And there was a lot of responses to Q+. And why don't we look at some of them? So we had an Aussie, Anon, who said, "G'day, POTUS. Love and gratitude for saving our country. It is an honor, sir. Nice trips." We'll talk about trips in a minute. "Wow, Q+. Proud to serve my president. We love you, POTUS and Q team." And all right, trips. So if you look at the post number, and you can't because I cut it off on this post. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. The post number is 6959111. See, that's 3 ones at the very end of that post number. If you get 2 digits that are the same, it's called dubs, doubles or dubs. If you get 3 numbers that are the same, it's called triples or trips. And the Anons like to play games with dubs and trips. So when you see trips, that's what it's a reference to. It's just trips on the triple digit on the post number. This Anon said, "Good night and God bless, POTUS," from the Brit Anon. I love you, no homo. This Anon. I don't know this guy's name, but he's actually been on my website, and he's posted a few comments on some of my videos. He's a good guy. All right. This Anon said, "Checked POTUS trips." So we've got the mention of the trips again. And this Anon said, "Trips confirm. We are with you too." And this Anon said, "For God and country." And he got a response from Q+, who said, "For humanity, Q+." And the Anons are pretty happy that he got a shout out from POTUS. What a time to be alive. This Anon posted a flag. "Thank you, sir. Anons will sleep well knowing this. Prayers are said every day here on the board for Q team. Q+, FLOTUS family, and the military intelligence." Where we go one, we go all. We are with you. I do appreciate all the prayers that you all say for Q and the president. It means a lot to me. All right. During his show on the, let's see, that would have been the 7th, Hannity dropped his pen. And let me see if I can get this to, I'll turn the volume up here. He always talks with a pen. I don't know if you noticed Hannity, when he's doing his monologue, he always has a pen in his fingers, and he's talking and he's throwing the pen around, and this time he dropped it.
"And by the way, the president views military action as a last result. The only thing he has offered to Kim Jong-un, Iran, and Putin," whoops, dropped my pen, "is his time, his attention. He has offered nothing more. And by the way, the president views military action as a last result."
Okay, so Hannity drops his pen. Who cares? What's the big deal, right? Well, this Anon said, "Hey, Hannity just dropped his pen again." And he said, "Drop my pen," in a very artificial tone. Then the Anon says, "Follow the pen. Hannity was talking directly to us." Q responded, "Haven't you figured it out by now?" Q: "Well, what are we supposed to figure out?" Well, I have actually thought for a while that Hannity and Solomon and Carter may be in on the Q operation. Maybe you're following Q's post, but not talking about it publicly. This Anon said Hannity knows, very clear. This Anon said he only drops a pen when you drop crumbs. I don't know if that's true. Denise and I were trying to figure out the last time we saw Hannity drop his pen during a monologue. Is it true? I don't know. However, this is very interesting. Sarah Carter.
Is Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Victoria is 100% right. I mean, Michael Flynn was, as she said, a thorn in their side, but he came from their administration. He knew where the bodies were buried. He understood what was going on.
He knew where the bodies were buried. Yes. That comes from a Q drop in December of 2017. Who knows where the bodies are buried? Flynn is safe. We protect our patriots. Q. You can, if you listen to Sarah Carter, John Solomon, and Hannity, you'll see little things that they drop, things that they say, they write about, that kind of gives you the impression that they are probably hip to Q, even though they don't talk about it publicly. All right. Speaking of Sarah Carter, she posted an article, developments on Michael Flynn's case, and we looked at that article earlier in the video, Sidney Powell, being General's new attorney. Now, Q said this, there is a, let's see, come on computer, you can do it. All right, there is a big direct, in brackets, reason why Flynn's new attorney is seeking security clearance, Q. I'm guessing that Sidney Powell may need a security clearance to get access to information that is going to clear his name. Here's a link to the tweet and the article. Now, this has to do with the FARA, alleged FARA violation and his registration as FARA. Apparently, he is saying that he was forced under extreme and unprecedented pressure, this would be from Andrew Weissman and his team, from extensive interactions with the National Security Division, that was Dave Loftman, to sign these documents. And there's a couple of issues going on. Number one, there's a story here where Flynn is saying that his previous legal team submitted documents on his behalf with false information, and he did not know that the information was false. The other issue is there was a lot of pressure by the then DOJ head of Loftman, who's head of National Security Division, to fill out this FARA registration. So 2 stories about General Flynn right after Q says Flynn news is coming. So Q says, so much Flynn news today. Coincidence? All right. Q wrote this, next post, Attorney General and Rogers meeting. I'm assuming that's Attorney General Barr, the new Attorney General. Durham, U.S. Attorney Durham, and Rogers meetings, plural. Right, so I think Q is letting us know that Admiral Rogers, after he retired, has been meeting with William Barr and U.S. Attorney Durham. Why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit the president at Trump Tower, TT, without authorization shortly after a skiff was installed? We know that Admiral Rogers went to Trump Tower, I believe it was, let's see, on the 17th or 18th of November, right after the election. And after the skiff was installed, I believe he gave the transition team a briefing to let Trump know what he was up against with the deep state. At that time, Ash Carter and James Clapper actually called for Rogers to be fired. And Q asked, why did select former ABC directors call for the removal of Rogers? Well, it's because they didn't trust him. They thought he was giving information to Trump. Why did POTUS move his transition command center, base of operations, from Trump Tower the very next day? After he met with Rogers, they moved the transition team to Trump Golf Course in New Jersey, Bedminster, I believe. So, sounds like Rogers has been helping out the good guys since he retired. Did he retire so he can testify as a civilian, maybe? I don't know if there would be an advantage to testifying while you're in the military versus as a civilian. I'm not sure. But Rogers knows where the bodies are buried. All right. And Anand created a graphic, which Q reposted. Basically, it has the Flynn news coming post from the 8th, and then we've got those news stories about General Flynn, which followed. And we've got this. Q posted a YouTube video, which is, I can't show it again because of copyright infringement, but it is a video, it's a helicopter view all around Little St. James Island, Epstein Island. And so Q posted a link to the video and then writes, welcome to Epstein Island. Ask yourself, is this normal? What does a temple typically symbolize? What does an owl symbolize? Dark religion. So on Epstein Island, there's a big temple, kind of a square temple built on one end of it. It's got blue lines on it. It has a couple of gold owls on either end of it. What about the tunnels underneath? How many channels were captured on Ray Chandler's picture? Rooms indicate size. Hallways shown. Class 1 through 99. Symbolism will be their downfall. These people are evil. Q. All right. So let's dig into that just a little bit. For those of you who are wondering, I do not know the exact meaning of class 1 through 99. But gauging from the context in which Q generally uses that term, it seems to represent information that is known but is classified. And I really can't go beyond that. All right, so the Jeffrey Epstein private island video. Let me see. You know, I'll give you a little view of that here on the thing. The music is annoying as heck, actually, but you can see there's a. I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit fast motion. You can see the island, and then you can see the temple comes into view here. And it's got a gold dome on the top of the temple. There's roads that go around the island, and you can see there's an owl there, and there's another owl there. I think those are near the entrance. Some people have speculated looks like there's an elevator shaft in here that goes down to other levels. So you can check that out on YouTube. It's just Jeffrey Epstein private island, Little St. James. You can check it out if you want. All right, this photo. This is an Anon posted this. It's a photo from Ray Chandler's Instagram page, and it looks like it is a bank of monitoring screen that is displaying closed-circuit cameras in hallways and rooms on the island. And the Anon says there's 16 channels, 4x4. So if you imagine that this is a larger screen, channel 1, 2, 3, and 4 would be over here. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 13 would be far to the left, 14, 15, and 16. So you got 16 channels, 4x4 grid. And Q wrote this, note 2013 on the bottom of the image, date important, Q. Right, so if you go to that close-up, you can see 2013 is the date that is displayed on that one channel 15, and it looks like it's a 07 next to the 13. Just a guess. It could be wrong. It is interesting, however, that this Instagram post was on July of 2013, July 19th, actually. So Q has a few things to say about that. And Sanan said, the flight log, right, the flight log. So the flight logs to Epstein Island have been made public. They were published by Gawker back in 2015. So the flight logs and the dates could be tied to this time frame that is displayed on the screen if someone wanted to do that. Q provided this an example of July 19th, 2013, Real Time with Bill Maher, HBO. This is World Youth Day for the Catholic Church. I mean, this is a big jamboree. Look at that. This is where all the kids in the world get together with priests. What could go wrong? Q says, follow the date. One example, no coincidences, Q. So apparently there's something significant about the date of July 19th. Now, the Anons have been digging on this, and there's a lot of observations, speculation, and possible connections of July 19th and what that means. I don't know what that means, but apparently there is some connection. And Bill Maher has been known to have some really off-color statements about pedophilia and Epstein and the island. And now we know why he's been silent about all this, because he's probably very worried that he's going to end up getting arrested with all the other people. All right. One of the Anons answered Q's question about what we can learn from the Instagram photo. This Anon said, I see at least 3 staircases. Q asked, what is the degree of incline on the steps, and then does that indicate what the depth is? So this Anon said, we can estimate the depth to at least a dozen of feet with channel 11. And this Anon said channel 8 shows a 25 to 30 foot drop. That is, looking at this picture, if you count the steps, estimate the height of a riser on the steps, you can probably figure out roughly how deep it goes. This Anon said Channel 7 shows a significant drop between the two sets of stairs. It also appears Channel 7 and 11 are of the same staircase, going from outside to lower levels. They wouldn't be this stupid, would they, to actually have an entrance of their pit on the outside. And then this Anon said, the photo of Channel 7 and 11 is a staircase that takes you to the side of the island depicted on the YouTube video that Q posted. It runs fairly deep. So this is just an example of some of the digs that the Anons have been doing. This is kind of a summary here. Bullet points. Ray Chandler took the surveillance video pic in 2013. 16 channels on the screen, rooms at least. Stairs indicate multiple levels to underground chambers. Date on the surveillance pic can correlate who was present when cross-referenced with the flight logs. And just this morning here is this story. A woman has come forward saying that Jeffrey Epstein violently raped her when she was 15 years old. So I think we're going to see a lot more stories like this in the coming days. That is all I have on this update. Q has posted, since I finished this thread, I started another thread this morning. I'll do a video on that and get it out as soon as I can. Love you all. Take care. Keep Q and the team in prayer. Keep Q and the team in prayer. Keep the president in prayer. Keep Denise and I in prayer. And we will see you on the next broadcast.